All right, welcome back to Clubhouse Conversations. If you don't already know me, my name is Brian Penny. I am the owner and editor of Clubhouse Convos on Reddit, on Substack, on all over the internet. I've got a newsletter and a lot of other things about it, and building up everything on YouTube too. So I'm the only human being in the entire world who saw all 51 of the Creator First pilot season finalists on Clubhouse. And I reviewed the shows in real time on my blog. I sent them out to all of the people that were involved, tagged them all. They all agreed, along with Clubhouse, that this is what happened. And this is the final list of what we have of the creators who were chosen. So now I'm going through and doing video commentary on my written reviews that have been already gone through. And so today's is one of the more controversial ones that I wrote, and we're going to deep dive into it too, as to why it was controversial, why this person should not have been chosen. And I mean, nothing against everything on here, full disclosure, is nothing against the creator. It is against Clubhouse because of the decision making that they did. There's nothing wrong with the actual people involved. It is the system that selected them and the reasons why that we're going to dig into. So, what it is today is Psychedelics plus Addiction, which is from the Brandon Batstone, who, this is a difficult one. So, what he did, he held a room with Dr. Hannah McLane and some other people who are all enthusiasts of psychedelics. Brandon himself is, by his own admission in the room, he is a recovering crack addict who used psychedelic mushrooms to essentially get through all of this. And he promised during this entire thing, too, that he was giving out I believe it was a $5,000 or $8,000, something like that. It was a trip for two, if I remember right, two-week trip down to South America for an ayahuasca retreat, which is like a life-changing thing. This is one of the many, many things that people promise on Clubhouse that you never see delivered. And this is the most expensive one. I mean, this is to the point where that's almost fraud. Like the FBI should almost be involved to find out whether or not they actually gave this out, because that is on the level of that McMillions fraud they made the HBO documentary on almost. I mean, this is clearly somebody who's fraudulently saying they're giving something out that they're not. And a trip to South America, a 2-week trip to South America to take ayahuasca, like that is the life-changing event that is expensive out of anybody else's reach. Like that is something that if somebody were to sponsor this and give that out, they would want to have that all over the place, but they did not. Some of the other people that were in this, here's the other people. Here's Alicia Riccio, Axel Mansour, the one of the former icons, and Jade Netanya Uman. I'm going to get all that stuff wrong. So here's what happened. Is the conversation is going fine, but the problem I've gone through over a lot of this stuff is that they have some amateurs who are in charge of things that professionals should be in charge of. Like, while it's great that Brandon himself has gone through whatever it was he did to get over his crack addiction and change it over to his own recreational use of psychedelics, that is not medical advice. He's not licensed to give that advice. He can't give psychedelics to anybody. He's not a trained professional. He's also not a trained 12-step counselor. And so you have some trained people that are in here, but they're also trying to, they're supporting their friend, and everyone's trying to be his friend. And nobody wants to tell them the truth, which is that you're not trained to do this. And so they end up where there's a man who's some British white man on here. Here, let's get this guy's name too, of which guy said this. It was Ben Sessa, this man with the party hat here. He is one of the panelists that was brought up here, and what he chose to essentially say was that he is allowed to use psychedelics. He's not one of those crackheads stealing your TV. He's just, a drug user who's cool and chill. And that was his whole point. That is the most racist thing you could possibly say. What any of these people should have said was, end the drug war. The whole point of MAPS is to end the drug war. This is what MAPS is, by the way. It's the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. They're supporting psychedelic science to help change lives. And you get this in the marijuana industry too, where they always say like, "Oh, opiates are bad, but marijuana is great." Like they're just two different drugs. It's like saying that like you like the Giants over the Patriots. It doesn't matter. This is silly, frivolous crap to like get mad at somebody for what their drug they're using. But when you specifically use that example of crack and say that crackheads steal your TV, but like I'm good, that's saying, well, if I'm white and I'm rich and I'm good, like that's fine. But don't harass me. Don't have the police come after me. I'm good. I'm an upstanding citizen who just happens to use drugs. But these people who are below me, who are lower class, who are in poverty, who have to smoke crack, who have to mix it with water and baking soda. I mean, he didn't say cocaine. He didn't say those Wall Street executives that are snorting coke and ruining everyone's lives with their greed on Wall Street. He didn't say that. He said these crackheads are, I mean, that's just ridiculous to sit there and take. It's just the most anti-poverty, anti-everything I've ever heard. And this group of people who are not black who should have stepped in and said something, and some of them did. Dr. Hannah reached out to me afterwards and specifically said, like, you were right. I've tried to explain this to them in the after party. Nobody's listening. It's a problem. This is a huge problem. It's a huge problem in MAPS, like this psychedelics community. This racism is always there. She gets it. End the drug war. End the drug war. Just say end the drug war. But they didn't, because this man is not trained, not licensed, and he didn't just let it happen. He jumped on it too. He's like, yeah, crack is whack. Man, all these crackheads suck. Man, go after them. Go beat them up. Go arrest them. Go shoot them. Go kill them. Like that kind of stuff. He didn't go that far into it, but he was jumping on and piggybacking off of it to add value to that part, that statement. And it's a racist statement. This ended up becoming a hate rally, and that's just not right. That's not okay. But this is the kind of thing that Clubhouse ends up doing. They ended up hiring this guy because they felt bad that I pointed out that this is racist. That is a racist thing. I gave him a C because he was allowing racism. I'm not saying that he himself is a racist. I'm not saying that anybody on here was running a white power rally or anything like that. But when you use crack and say, crack sucks, crack is bad, attack crack, go after crack, crack is bad, kill crack, and then arrest crack, beat up crack, put a knee on crack's head and just make sure it can't breathe. But let me be chill, dude, and I'm just going to take my drugs that are also as illegal as crack. But I'm good, man. I'm good because I'm okay, because I have a job and those crackhead. No, dude. End the drug war. Anything else is racist. And if you weren't untrained, you would know that. Instead of taking personal offense to what I'm telling you, fix it. And then what happened was the psychiatrists that got hired, the frontier psychiatrists, were already in the inner circle. They were already friends with Brandon. They decided to make it up to him that I gave him a bad grade and a fake game that we're all playing. I'm not even a real teacher. I don't work for Clubhouse. None of this was real. And they had to make it up to him because he was so traumatized for having experienced being told that he created racism. That must have been traumatizing for him. And they ignored the actual, the indigenous people who actually have the guides to the spirit world and all those things that understand how to do all this stuff. And I mean, they ignored all the other trained medical professionals who were licensed to give you those kind of things. And they picked this kid who people like just because he's a recovering crack addict who now does shrooms and wants everyone else to do shrooms and be a burner with them and be cool, man. But that's not cool. That's just spreading more addiction and drug usage and BS, where there really should have been 12-step people and trained professionals and counselors and addiction counselors and doctors who are explaining all this stuff. If you want real information about psychedelics, talk to Dr. Hannah, talk to the doctors, the frontier psychiatrists. Do not talk to this guy. He's just a wannabe. Everyone's trying to be his friend and nobody wants to tell him the truth. And he got paid when, honestly, he appropriated the entire idea of psychedelics from the indigenous people who did not get paid for any of this, from around the globe who did not get chosen, who were finalists but did not get chosen because Clubhouse wanted to make it up to the white guy that he experienced being told he's racist.